Hello, my name is Ram and welcome to another video of Matuklasan. In this video, we will discuss how to solve right triangles by using different trigonometric functions. Kung babalikan natin yung right triangle, the side opposite to the right angle is always the longest side. Therefore, this side is called the hypotenuse. Now, since angles now are involved in our discussion, if we will set this as the angle measure or theta, the side opposite to this angle is called opposite side. While this side adjacent to this angle is the adjacent side. So kung hypotenuse ang pag-uusapan, wala tayong problema because the hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle in a right triangle. Ngayon, ang problema natin, yung nag-iiba lagi, yung adjacent side tsaka yung opposite side. Because yung opposite tsaka adjacent, laging dumidepende kung nasaan yung theta. So if the theta is here, on the upper part, the opposite side now to this theta is this side. And the adjacent side becomes this side. Ulitin ko, nagbabago ang adjacent at saka ang opposite depende dun sa theta. Kasi nagko-correspond naman talaga yung opposite saka adjacent dun sa ating angle measure na sineset. And knowing these three sides is very important in our discussion because if we're going to write the sides into ratios, we form 6 different trigonometric functions. These are the abbreviations for the 6 trigonometric functions. This is sine theta, cosine theta, tangent theta, cosecant theta, secant theta, and cotangent theta. Sine theta describes the ratio of the opposite side and the hypotenuse side, while cosine theta describes the ratio of adjacent and hypotenuse side, while the tangent theta describes the ratio of opposite and adjacent side. So, dito tayo nag-refer sa ating triangle. So, if we're getting sine theta, we just need to get the sides or measures of the opposite and the hypotenuse. Divide them together. That's the value of our sine theta. Theta here is just a symbol for our angle. So, pwede nyong gawing A ito, pwede nyong gawing B, C, D, depende sa given at so kung ano ang hinahanap. Ngayon, itong tatlo na to, madali na lang tandaan kasi if you will invert the positions of the elements of this ratio, yun ang nabubuo dito yung tinatawag na cosecant. So, halimbawa, ang sine theta ay opposite over hypotenuse. Baliktarin mo yung hypotenuse at opposite, gawin mong numerator yung hypotenuse. Then, cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite. Ito namang cosine, pag binaliktad natin itong dalawang tong elements na to, secant naman yon. And pag binaliktad naman ito, magiging cotangent theta naman, which is equal to adjacent over opposite. So, if we're finding the values of these 6, ito lang tatlo na itong pinaka-importante talaga. Dahil pag nahanap nyo itong tatlong to, baliktarin nyo lang yung mga ratio ng sides, no? At makukuha natin itong tatlo sa kanila. For easier recall of the 6 trigo functions, we can use the SOH-CAH-TOA model. So, from the SOH-CAH-TOA means sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So, yung first letter yung nire-refer natin dito para sa SOH. SOH. And when you want to remember cosine, you just remember CAH. Because CAH means cosine theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Yung TOA naman is for tangent. And you know O, right? It's for the opposite and A is for the adjacent. So, tangent theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. Yung SOH-CAH-TOA model natin ay para sa tatlong ito. And siguro yung iba sa inyo magtatanong, Sir, paano naman yung cosecant, secant, tsaka cotangent? Okay lang naman kasi pag binaliktad mo lang naman kasi itong dalawang to, yan na yung cosecant. Ito naman, pag binaliktad mo yung cosine, no? Yan naman, ang nakukuha naman natin yung ratio ng secant theta. Pero ako, no, tinatandaan ko yung isang mnemonics pa. Ang tinatandaan ko, SOH-CAH-TOA. SOH-CAH-TOA naman. SOH-CAH-TOA. CAH-TOA. Anong ibig sabihin naman ng SOH-CAH-TOA? Ganun lang din. So, SOH-CAH-TOA, C stands for cosecant, is equal to hypotenuse over opposite. While SHA is secant is equal to hypotenuse over adjacent. Yung CAH naman ay cotangent equals adjacent over opposite. So, pwede nyo gamitin yung SOH-CAH-TOA model or yung tatlong natitira naman na function, pwede namang SOH-CAH-TOA. Now, how do we find those 6 trigonometric functions if we have this kind of given? If theta is an acute angle and sine theta is equal to 7 over 25, find the values of the trigonometric functions of theta. So, pag ganyan, kailangan muna nating mag-drawing ng right triangle. And we need to assume that sine theta here has the opposite side 7 and the hypotenuse as 25. Bakit ganun? Kasi alam natin na yung sine theta, okay, balikan natin SOH-CAH-TOA. Sine, as we all know, is so it's opposite over hypotenuse. Therefore, in this case, since the value of sine theta is given, which is 7 over 25, so the opposite side is 7 and the hypotenuse is 25. If this is our right triangle, and we will assume that the theta is here. Okay, assumption lang to Pwede kasi naman yung theta nasa taas. So ako para hindi nahirapan, nilalagay ko na lang dito sa lower right side. Okay? Pero ang sure tayo, ang acute angle natin ay, or rather ang theta natin ay acute angle. So either of these two. Hindi pwedeng ito kasi this is a right angle, di ba? So hindi pwede yon. Ngayon, kung ito yung theta natin, nasan natin ilalagay yung 7? Saan natin ilalagay yung 7? Yung 7 na ilalagay natin sa opposite side, base dito. So, 7 is here. This is 7 units. And 25 is the hypotenuse. Therefore, 25 should be written here. Now, for us to find the remaining 5 trigonometric functions other than sine theta, we need to complete the sides or the measure of each side. And for that, anong kailangan natin? We all know that if a right triangle is given and one of the sides is missing while the two other sides are given, we can use the Pythagorean theorem. And how do we use the Pythagorean theorem? Sa Pythagorean theorem, all you need to do is to get the sum of the squares of the legs. So, ibig sabihin, yung dalawang sides natin ay yung x at saka yung 7. So, kunin nyo lang yung sum ng kanilang squared. Ganun lang naman ang Pythagorean theorem, di ba? At equated lagi yung sum na yan sa square ng hypotenuse. Since the hypotenuse is 25, just write 25 squared here. For us to solve for x, all we need to do is to transpose 7 squared on the right side. So, pwedeng maging ang equation natin ay x squared equals 25 squared minus 7 squared. Okay, pwede nyo naman nang i-simplify yung 25 squared tsaka 7 squared. Pero para minsan ang input na lang sa calculator, pwede naman yun. Mamaya na natin i-input lahat sabay-sabay. And of course, if we want to remove 2 here, all we need to do is to get the square root of both sides of the equation. So that here, x na lang ang matitira. Right? And matitira na lang dito ay yung 25 squared minus 7 squared. And by using your calculator, the answer is 24. So, the missing side is x equals 24. Okay, paano nakuha yung 24? Okay, just get the square root of this. Since we now know the value of the missing side, x, which is 24, we can now compute or solve for the missing trigonometric functions. So, if we're going to use SOH-CAH-TOA, sine theta will come first, right? Tapos na yung sine theta. So, sa susunod na tayo, CAH, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So, the value of cosine theta now, cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. So since this is the angle, the adjacent side is 24. So therefore, this is 24 over hypotenuse. And we all know that the measure of the hypotenuse is 25. So cosine theta is 24 over 25. How about tangent? Tangent is TOA. So opposite over adjacent tayo. In the angle, the opposite side is 7. TOA. So this is 7 over adjacent, which in this case, we all know now it's 24. So you just write 24 here. So yan na yung cosine natin, tsaka yung tangent theta value. But how about the remaining 3? Okay, to get cosecant, well, pwede nyo gamitin yung shortcut na tinuro ko na SOH-CAH-TOA. Pero alam nyo, kung alam nyo yung sine theta dito sa taas, tignan nyo itong sine theta dito sa taas. Baliktarin nyo lang yung numerator and denominator ng fraction na to. You'll get 25 over 7. So that is cosecant theta. While the value of secant theta is just equal to hypotenuse over adjacent. Pero may shortcut ulit dyan. Kung alam niyo yung value ng cosine dito, okay, pagbaliktaran nyo lang yung numerator and denominator, you'll get 25 over 24. Kaya nga kahit SOH-CAH-TOA lang yung tandaan ninyo, makukuha nyo lahat ng remaining trigonometric functions. And of course, the last but not the least is cotangent theta. So cotangent theta, again, ang partner nito yung tangent. So baliktarin nyo lang yung 24 tsaka yung 7. You'll get 24 over 7. That's it. And these are now the 6 trigonometric functions for the given. How about if you are asked to solve the given right triangle? When you say solve the right triangle, all we need to do is to complete the measures of the sides and the angles of the right triangle. And to start, we need to label the parts for this missing sides or angle measures. So, since itong angle na to ay nasa vertex na B, so tawagin na lang natin itong angle B. Now, since this side is opposite the angle C, tawagin natin itong side C. And this side, which is opposite the angle B, will be side B. So ito, para hindi tayo nalilito, pwede nyo tandaan itong 21 centimeters as side A. And we all know that the given theta here now is 42 degrees. Since we're done labeling the parts, we can now solve for the missing values. So we need to solve for angle B, side C, and side B. And the easiest measure that we can find is the angle B. Why? Because we all know that in a triangle, we have a sum of 180 degrees for all the interior angles, right? And since 90 degrees na itong nandito sa right angle dito, therefore, yung 42 at saka yung partner niya na angle B, 90 degrees na lang yung natitira na yan, yung sum nila. So therefore, to solve for angle B, for the measure of this angle B, all we need to do is to subtract 90 degrees with the measure of angle A. Kumbaga, we're just getting the complement of angle A. Okay? So, 90 degrees, and since angle A is 42 degrees, what is now the value of angle B? Yes, angle B is 48 degrees. So, we can now write the missing value of angle B, which is 48 degrees. Next now is to solve for C. To solve for C, we need to use the 6 trigonometric or one of the 6 trigonometric functions. So, in this case, pwede nyong gamitin na reference yung 42 degrees or yung 48 degrees. Now, since meron namang tayo nakalagay dito na 21 centimeters at meron siyang opposite angle na 42 degrees, going to refer to 42 degrees. Pero ano bang importance ng sinasabi ko na to sa inyo? Ibig sabihin, no, pipili tayo ngayon ng formulang pwede nating gamitin. Ako, para mas madalian ako, ito lang naman ang ginagawa ko. Since given yung angle A, which is 42 degrees, at yung opposite na 21 centimeters na side, so meron na tayong opposite side. Ang hinahanap natin ay C. At alam natin dito na yung C ay hypotenuse. Therefore, opposite at saka hypotenuse ang involved na measurement. So, opposite, hypotenuse, alin sa mga 6 trigo functions ang pwede? Actually, kahit tatlo lang pagpilian nyo, yung SOH-CAH-TOA. So, alin doon sa SOH-CAH-TOA ang merong opposite at saka hypotenuse? Yes, ang pwede yung sine. Now, paano natin isusulat yung function natin ngayon? Hindi na siya sine theta because this time, we have a value which is 42 degrees. Ayun. So, kapag ginamit nyo ay sine 42, meaning, ang ratio natin ay opposite of 42 degrees is what? 21 centimeters, right? And the hypotenuse is the missing value, which is C. That's it. So, all we need to do now is to solve for C. To solve for C, you can actually cross-multiply these two terms. So, it will become sine 42 degrees. Ako kadalasan, nilalagyan ko pa nito para hindi ako nalilito sa value. At yung C ay nandito. Kasi cross-multiply natin yung C dito, di ba? Then, we have here on the other side of equation, which is 21 centimeters. And, of course, to solve for C, we need to divide both sides by sine 42 degrees. So, this is sine 42 degrees. Ayan. And with this, kakancel na ito, magiging 1 na lang yan. And ang matitira na lang dito ay C. So, therefore, we have 21 centimeters divided by sine 42 degrees. Para hindi kayo nahihirapan, pwede naman na huwag nyo nang isulat yung centimeters muna. But make sure na kapag nakuha nyo na yung final answer, maglagay pa rin kayo ng centimeters. Meron din akong ginagawang shortcut. Tignan nyo to, dun sa sinusolve natin kanina, balikan natin. Diba, sa baba lang yung C, hinahanap natin na value ay C. Okay? So, alam nyo, gawin nyo lang, pagbaliktarin nyo lang tong dalawang to. Ay, yan ang shortcut na ginagawa ko. Pag cross-multiplication lang naman kasi, wala naman na-violate na rule. So, ginagawa ko para mas madali, baliktarin ko to para yung C pumunta sa taas at yung sine 42 sa baba. So, yun. Makukuha natin yung ganitong form din ng equation natin. Ito, makukuha natin yung form ng equation na yan. Ngayon, ang kailangan na lang natin ay gamitin ang ating calculator para ma-solve yung value ng C.
Okay, so if you want to use your calculator, make sure that it's in degree mode. And in this calculator, ang kanyang degree mode ay nakikita pagka ipapress mo yung shift and then menu. Dun sa mga old Casio calculators, parang ganun din. Usually shift mode lang. Then hanapin nyo lang yung angle unit or mode para sa mga angles ninyo. In this case, I need to select 2. Dapat nasa deg mode tayo or degree mode. Make sure na degree mode ang gagamitin nyo kasi ang ini-input natin sa mga trigo functions natin ay degrees. So, pagka sinelect ko yung degree mode dyan, dapat may lilitaw na letter D rito. Okay? At pag ganon, pwede na natin gamitin yung calculator. In our problem, we need to divide 21 with what? Sine. So, ang sine, mga trigo functions, nandito lang sa banda rito, sine, cosine, and tangent. So, in this case, we need to use sine and then we need to type 42. Well, pwede nyo lagyan ng degrees dito, pero kung naka-degree mode naman kayo, kahit wag nyo nang lagyan ng degrees, pwede naman. So, the answer is 31.38.
So, the value of C is 31.38 centimeters. Okay, what if we need to solve for B this time? Ano kaya ang gagawin natin? Alright, to solve for B, notice that we already have 42 and 48 here. So, kung nasa inyo na yan kung anong gagamitin yung reference angle ninyo. In my case, since 42 ang ginagamit ko mula kanina, I'll use 42 degrees as my reference angle. And this time, if this is 42 degrees, this side is called adjacent side. And if this side is adjacent, opposite 42 degrees is the opposite side. Okay? So, since B yung hinahanap natin, at meron naman tayong given na opposite which is 21 centimeters, then I can use TOA. Okay, bakit TOA? Kasi opposite ang given, ang hinahanap natin ay adjacent. So, TOA, O and A. Yung iba baka magtanong, pwede ba na ito yung gamitin natin imbis na yung opposite side? Yes, you can use the hypotenuse which is 31.38 and you can use other trigonometric functions. But in this case kasi, since 21 has no decimal value, ito na lang ang gagamitin natin na reference. So, tangent 42 degrees is just equal to opposite over adjacent. So, ang ating opposite dito ay 21 centimeters again. And our adjacent side is B, which is the missing side. Again, by doing the cross multiplication, we can solve for B. Pero diba, tinuruan ko na kayo ng shortcut kanina. All you need to do is to interchange these two terms. Pag ganyan lang naman yung nahanap nyo at tinahanap nyo yung B, dapat yung B nandito. So, ang gawin nyo lang, pagpalitin nyo lang sila ng pwesto. That's the faster or the fastest way to do it. Okay, so we have now here tangent 42 degrees. Ayan. And again, by using your calculator, no, this time tangent naman nilalagay nyo imbis na sine, you can solve for the value of B, which is 23.32 centimeters. Ayan. At nakumpleto na natin ngayon yung mga missing values. Now, if you want an alternative way, kagaya ng sinasabi ko na kanina, you can solve for B by using the Pythagorean theorem. And this time, by using what? B squared equals, okay, alam natin yung B ay hindi hypotenuse. Ang hypotenuse natin ay yung C, di ba? So, yun ang i-square natin at i-minus lang natin yung square ng A, side A. So, yan ang pwede nyo gamitin na formula. And by getting the square root of both sides, you all know that it could be the square root of C squared minus A squared. Ayan, by substituting the values here, meron na tayong value ng C which is 31.38. Okay. Square nyo lang yan. Then, i-less or subtract nyo yung square ng 21. And you'll get the same value, which is 23.32 centimeters. They may differ kung 4 decimal places ang gagamitin, pero since both are just approximations, parehas na tama pa din. Yung iba baka nalilito, kaya tayo nagkaroon dito ng minus kasi ang nawawala ay yung B, one of the legs, at hindi hypotenuse. Nagkakaroon tayo ng plus dito if yung nawawala yung hypotenuse. Or i-equate natin siya sa hypotenuse. In this example, what's missing is angle A, side C, and side B. Okay, so let's solve for the missing values. Let's start with angle A. To find angle A, all we need to do is to find the complement of this angle. Kasi nga, kagaya ng reasoning natin kanina, we have here 31 degrees na for angle B. and we just need to find angle A, which is the complement of 31 degrees. So all we need to do is to subtract 90 degrees with 31 degrees. And the answer is what? 59 degrees.
Now, let us try solving for B. In this case, I'm gonna use 31 degrees as my reference angle again. So here, since I'm using 31 degrees, the missing value is the opposite side, and one of the given sides is the adjacent. So opposite and adjacent ang involved, therefore I need to use TOA or tangent 31 degrees is equal to opposite, which is the missing value, B, over the adjacent, which is 25.6 centimeters. Now, how do we solve for B here? All we need to do is to cross multiply these two terms so that it will become 25.6 centimeters multiplied to what? Tangent 31 degrees. And that is equal to B. By using your calculator and making sure that it's in degree mode, the answer is 15.38 centimeters. Ayan. So, nakuha na natin yung value ng B by using tangent. For letter C, let us try using the Pythagorean theorem for a change. So, if we're looking for C, we just need to square C, which is the hypotenuse and the missing value, and it's equated to 25.6 squared, right, plus 15.38. Bakit pwede na natin gamitin yung Pythagorean theorem ngayon? Kasi nga, given na yung dalawang sides ng ating triangle. So, kung given ang dalawang sides, di na mahirap hanapin yung C or the third side by using Pythagorean theorem. Squaring both sides, we'll get the value of C. By using your calculator, the final answer will be 29.86 centimeters. You can also use the trigonometric functions to solve for C. So, for instance, if you're trying to use 31 degrees, you may use the adjacent side, tapos hypotenuse. So, adjacent hypotenuse is AH-CAH. So, you can use cosine 31 degrees equal to 25.6 divided by what? Okay, C. Ngayon, kagaya ng ginawa natin kanina, i-solve nyo lang yung C dito. And probably may konting difference because if you'll try to use this function, it's possible that you'll get 29.87. Well, it's possible because the margin of error is really plus or minus 0.01 because we did use different formulas with different approximations on the decimal places. Okay, so that's it. Our last example is a little different from the previous examples because here, notice that the missing values are the angles. So here, angle A and angle B, and then we're also looking for side C. Sa mga nakarang kasing examples, nakikita nyo na meron tayong interior angle at least na isa sa ating triangle. But this time, totally wala tayong angles na nakikita. Okay? So, we'll use a different approach for this one. Okay, so we need to find angles A and B and side C. Believe it or not, ang pinakamadaling hanapin dito ay yung side C. Kasi, given na yung dalawang sides, so we can use the Pythagorean theorem. Since C is the hypotenuse, we will use C squared equals what? 12 squared, just need to square this, plus 35 squared. Okay? Squaring both sides, get the square root of both sides. We have C equals, using your, the answer is 37 meters. Don't forget the unit. So, lagay na natin dito, 37 meters. Now, how about angles A and B? To solve for angle A, you can still use the trigonometric functions. So, let's say we use angle A here. Okay? So, ang involved sa atin kasi yung 12 tsaka 35. So, you can choose opposite of A, which is 12, and adjacent of A, which is 35. So, opposite, adjacent, OA. So, that is tangent, right? So, you can use tangent A equal to opposite. What is the opposite of angle A? Yes, it's 12 meters over 35. Now, kanina kasi, yung mga angle natin may values. This time, A ang nakalagay. Kasi nga, yan ang nawawala. But this time, look at the two sides. They are given. Right? Again, angle A ay preference ko. Pwede namang angle B din ang gamitin nyo. Kaso, magbabago yung mga orientation ng opposite tsaka adjacent ninyo. Okay? So, halimbawa, ito na rin yung ginamit natin. Paano natin masosolve yung A? Okay. This time, we're going to use the inverse of these functions. So, kung gusto nyo malaman yung angle A, yung measure ng angle A natin, all you need to do is to transfer this tangent on the other side of the equation and it will become tan inverse. Yung parang nakaraise siya sa negative 1. Hindi talaga nakaraise sa negative 1. Yan. Pero parang ganun ang itsura ng pagkakasulat natin ng tan inverse. Okay? At syempre, kukunin niyo yung tan inverse ng 12 over 35. So, ganun lang. Okay? So, ganito lang ang kailangan nating input sa calculator at makukuha natin yung angle A.
So usually yung mga arctan, arcsine, tsaka arccosine or yung mga inverse na function natin, nakikita natin dito sa second level. So yung mga yellow na nakikita nyo dyan, yan yung ating mga inverse trigonometric functions. And how to use them? For example, dun sa kinukuha natin, we need to get the arctangent of 12 over 35. So gagawin lang natin, ipipress lang natin yung shift to use the second level. So, nag-shift siya doon. Tapos, you select tangent. So, may lilitaw dito sa given natin na tan raised to negative 1 na nakalagay, di ba? So, you just need to input 12 over 35. And yun na. Close nyo lang ng parenthesis. We'll have the value of 18.92. So, itong 18.92 is an angle. At 18.92 degrees ang sagot natin kasi ang mode ng calculator natin ay degree measure.
At isusulat lang natin yung nakuha nating value sa calculator which is 18.92 degrees. Okay, this is an angle measure. Kaya nilalagyan natin ng degrees. Okay? And sabi ko nga, nagkataon lang na tangent ang ginamit ko dito kasi nga ang reference ko is angle A and then I use opposite and adjacent side. You can also use sine, cosine, tapos ang magiging uh, notation nyo dito ay magiging arc sine o kaya naman ay arc cosine. Okay? Now, so kung nakita na natin at nakuha na natin yung angle A which is 18.92, napakadali na lang kunin ngayon yung ating angle B. Kasi pag meron tayong nawawalang isang angle, pwede nating makuha yung nawawalang angle na yon if we know the other angle. And in this case, it's angle A. Since we now know angle A is 18.92 degrees, kagaya ng ginagawa natin sa mga una nating examples, I just need to subtract 90 with 18.92 degrees to get the value of angle B. And the difference now is what? By subtracting those two values, we have 71.08 degrees. Were we able to solve the triangle? Yes, because all the angle measures and sides are now complete. And that's all for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want more updates and other lessons in trigonometry. Pwede rin kayong mag-comment sa baba para malaman ko kung ano yung mga gusto nyong sabihin tungkol sa videos, may gusto kong itanong o may gusto kong i-request ng mga lessons sa Trigo o sa ibang math content. See you on the next video!